Hello, everyone. So let's talk about mind terrorism, right? Because in the past, it was the Orwellian nightmare, right? It was the 1984 boot in your face tyranny, very oppressive, very physical, very obvious. So for that reason, it makes way more sense for the tyrants of this world to upgrade their game to the Huxley's Brave New World, right? Which is a more psychological manipulation, right? It's covert. It's not in your face. You can't see it. You can't smell it. You can't taste it. It's the prison that's invisible to us. Okay, because we're trained from a young age to go through the first aspect of this mind terrorism, which is what we call education. But of course, it isn't education because we haven't been taught to think. We've been taught what to think systematically. Get on the conveyor belt, right? You can do this, you can do that, you can do that. You can do geography, you can do maths, you can do science, you can do religious studies. You can do anything, but think for yourself. And so after this, the mind is rendered incapable of comprehending the whole. We remember from Socrates, I think it was, the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. But you're not going to activate the Philosopher's Stone. You're not going to activate the Ajna Chakra, the third eye, and expand your awareness to becoming truly Homo sapiens, sapien meaning sapiens, wisdom. Unlike the other animals on this planet, right? We have sapience. We have a transcendence over the animal plane. But if we can be psychologically manipulated to not realize that, we can be ruled just like animals, right? I'm sure that we are seen just like how farmers see cows and even like how some dog owners see dogs, right? Sit down, roll over, fetch, paw, right? All of these instructions are obediently fulfilled automatically because that's the systematic nature of the animal, of this dog, And you could say that I've seen many dogs who are happy to be participating in that type of life, because that's simply their level of awareness at that point. But if you're going to start engineering species to become subservient, then this is obviously an evil agenda. And this is absolutely the case what's taking place, by way, firstly, of the Western education. So if this is an expose of mind terrorism, the first aspect of that is what we call Western education, which is actually indoctrination, that trains us to live out our lives of indentured servitude. It leads us down the garden path, unfortunately. We live out our lives ego-identified with what we're doing. We forget that we're actually beings having those experiences, okay? Just playing roles. What we need to do is remind ourselves of our sovereignty for us to expand in awareness and attain the level of consciousness that's required for us to actually create a better world, right? Based on true freedom, abundance, and well-being for all. The reason we live in this mess is simply because we've been psychologically engineered, socially engineered, to live out our lives in a more animalistic manner, right? Which is exhibited by, and large, the populace of today in the West. So what we need to do is realize that mass media, which is the second aspect of this mind terrorism, which continuates, the work that's been done throughout Western education, which completely restricts the consciousness of the individual. If you see, go through Western education, you get yourself in a box, and then you go to secondary school, you get yourself in another box, then you might go to university, you're putting yourself you're cementing your mind into matter, ultimately. And then what is happening after that is people are unfortunately being enslaved for survival. Right? So this is another form of mind terrorism, where you simply do not have free access as a basic human right to shelter, energy, food, and water. So you have to remain in a contracted state of awareness your entire life simply to make ends meet, right? And if that's not enough, you then have mass media to take care of all the leisurely activities whilst you're not at work. So the last thing you're ever going to do is look up at night into the stars and start to contemplate your own existence, start to imagine, start to, become the true sapient entity that you are. Right? Of course, many people are doing that, and we are seeing a slow awakening. But it's kind of, unfortunately, very much that. It's very slow. So we need to try and expedite that and create a better world. And we can only do that when we come together. So what we need to do is firstly realize that the systems for control in place are ultimately educational. We need to change and totally reform what we call education to activating the right brain hemisphere, to getting people in touch with their divine, critical, independent thought. And then we also need to free people from their compulsory labour for survival. So we need shelter, energy, food, and water as basic human rights. This is ultimately the campaign here at newearth.land. Do become a part of that, because it only works when we do this together, because we are the people, right? We are the government. We need to realise that first and foremost, because if we don't, it will never happen for us. It has to happen by us. We need to be more proactive in that regard. So those in a nutshell are three aspects of mind terrorism. And do stick around, do connect if you're interested in this type of material, if you're interested in philosophy and like hermetic natural laws, and just learning about like the true spiritual teachings that have been on this planet for centuries, not this kind of new age stuff, right, that's emerging right now. Some of which is actually like nefarious, some of which actually doesn't serve our, best interest. But in a nutshell, that's it for this video. Do stay in touch, like I said. Do DM me if you're interested in collaborating in some way. And do head over to the website newf.land, of course, to learn more. Thanks very much.